Just ahead, there's another edition of the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith, Public Affairs Director of the Florida News Network.
And I am Executive Producer Michael Yaffee.
Michael, a pleasure to be with you again this week. An election year, and boy, are we going to have items on the Florida ballot. The old bedsheet ballot returns this November. But all kinds of issues, and among them, offshore oil drilling around the state of Florida. We're going to be joined a little bit later in the hour by former Florida Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kottkamp, who has become somewhat expert on this business of offshore oil drilling. It's a conversation you're going to want to hear. Stay put. The Florida Roundtable begins following these messages.
If you have a qualifying medical condition and a qualified physician determines that medical marijuana is right for you, the physician will add you to the Medical Marijuana Use Registry so that you can obtain your medical marijuana ID card. Verifying that your physician is qualified protects you, as does making sure that your medical marijuana treatment center is approved. The Florida Department of Health makes this verification easy with our qualified ordering physician search tool and other resources available at floridahealth.gov/OMMU.
Wow, your flowers are gorgeous. What's your secret?
It's no secret. It's Bare Advanced.
You mean these blue bottles?
Uh-huh. I protect my beauties with all-in-one rose and flower care. It's insect and disease control plus fertilizer.
Really? What's this 12-month tree and shrub protect and feed?
Oh, I use it on my trees. It kills bugs for up to a year, plus it feeds. It's that easy. Hey, where are you going?
To get my own. I want a great yard, too.
Bare Advanced. Get more from the blue bottle. Always read and follow label instructions.
I'm going to clean the tub and shower. It's a big job, so nobody interrupt me.
Okay.
After my shower or bath, I'll spray Wet and Forget Shower on and rinse it clean tomorrow. Easy. Now I have time for a nice long bubble bath.
Hey, hon, you need a hand?
Could you make dinner?
Sure.
Make cleaning easier. Pick up Wet and Forget Shower today at the Home Depot, Lowe's, or visit wetandforget.com to find a store near you.
If only Jason would have stopped before turning. But he didn't. Actually, he didn't even slow down or look. If he had, he would have seen the woman in the crosswalk. 1 in every 4 traffic fatalities involves a pedestrian, so please stop before turning right on red and always yield for pedestrians. Safety doesn't happen by accident. Alert today, alive tomorrow. A message from the Florida Department of Transportation.
This is the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith, Public Affairs Director of the Florida News Network.
And I'm Executive Producer Michael Yaffee.
Michael, pleasure again this week, and we're going to be focusing on offshore oil drilling a little bit later. But I had a thought here that I wanted to share with you, and it's gone by some. But you know, there were that great big brouhaha they had over Prince Harry and Meghan Markle getting married. You know?
Oh yes.
The estimated audience, I don't even know. People getting up at 4:00 in the morning here on a Saturday.
I knew some people who did.
Watch. Well, yeah, millions of Americans were up at 4 a.m. And they were tuned in to the royal wedding, and they thought, and I quote here, "What am I doing with my life?" Unquote.
All right. No, I had some friends that were really into it and got up and watched it, and, you know, they love it.
I figured the instant video replay later on in the day would be easier.
Oh, me too. I definitely was not one of those people.
Oh, I had, and England is such a good ally and has been all this time. Our roots go back into their legal system and all of that. But I heard a couple of people say, "Who cares? We threw them out of here years ago."
Right.
So, well, anyways, we the other thing that came to mind with that too is the members of the royal family. If 6 of them die, Meghan Markle would become the Queen of England. Huh?
Really?
And
talk about a coup.
The second fact, that used to be Prince Harry's pickup line.
That's actually a good pickup line if you use that. It's very interesting.
Certainly. Well, all right. We're going to be talking about offshore oil drilling, and it has been for so many years virtual poison to even bring it up in Florida.
Most of my life, yeah.
Oh yeah, and governors from both parties have opposed this thing,
and I think Rick Scott still opposes it.
Yeah, there were federal notions of changing the federal laws. And I mean, we've been fighting this for years and years and years. And guess what? It is coming back this November again.
Yeah.
We're going to be asked to make some, what's the word I'm looking for? They want to make changes in the rules and regulations that govern this thing. And I really am not all that up on it, to be honest with you, to tell you the truth. I don't know what they want to change.
Well, I mean, we'll find out when we talk to our guests, but I believe what they want to change is they want to allow more drilling offshore, which, like you said, a lot of people are against. They think it could threaten our beaches and our tourism industry and all of that. Personally, I'm for it. Mm-hmm. I would much rather us be able to produce more of our own energy in this country, which we have been in recent years, but this would be even more, and I'm not opposed to it.
Well, I have thought that way too, and I've spent an awful lot of time in South Louisiana over the years, and outside of the BP catastrophe,
right, there
really have not been major problems. It's been close into Louisiana for a long, long time. There are some very strict rules in place governing it as well. And
well, of course, and there would be here as well. And I think the oil rigs would be pretty far off in the distance. We'll have to ask our guests exactly what the rules would be. But, I mean, we need energy for this country to run. And it's just a fact.
They keep telling us, and even those who oppose the drilling, I think, will admit that we have such enormous possibilities here.
Oh, yeah.
And yet we sit and do nothing about it.
So, well, there's still a lot of people in this country that are just against fossil fuels, against oil. They want us to completely get away from it. I think that's unrealistic in the foreseeable future. One day it will happen, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Well, we'll find out more about it. In case you don't remember, Jeff Kottkamp was the lieutenant governor of the state of Florida when Charlie Crist was a Republican and served his 4 years as governor before he decided he wanted to try for the U.S. Senate. So Jeff is going to be joining us. We'll invite you to pull up a chair, put an ear on the radio. The Florida Roundtable continues following these messages.
Guilt. To most, it's just a word. But if you hit or worse kill a pedestrian while driving, guilt becomes your shadow, following you every day for the rest of your life. And let's be honest, you have a lot of life left to live. So please, stop before turning right on red and always yield for pedestrians. Because safety doesn't happen by accident. Alert today, alive tomorrow. A message from the Florida Department of Transportation.
I love the ocean.
Me? I love a slow winding river.
I love the lake. Slick as glass.
But nothing compares to what you love inside the boat.
My family.
My child.
My best friend from first grade.
If you're behind the wheel of a boat, pay attention. That way your favorite water will always be safe water. Learn more about boating safety at myfwc.com. Brought to you by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
In a world of tiny tomatoes and backyard pests, one man and his better half dig deep to save backyard gardens.
Joni, stand by to upload expert videos.
Already loaded, Tom.
Wow, you're good.
You're not so bad yourself.
Tom and Joni McCubbin star in hisandhersgardening.com. Critics rave.
Tom and Joni, they really grow on you.
2 green thumbs up.
Don't miss hisandhersgardening.com.
Precious Rose, you color our world till insects and disease turn it upside down. So we've created Bare Advanced All-in-One Rose and Flower Care. It's the no-spray formula that works 3 ways, controlling bugs and disease as it feeds for brighter, more vibrant flowers. So count your blessings and stop to smell the scientific advances. Available in easy-to-use liquid and granules. Bare Advanced. Better science, better results. BareAdvanced.com. Always read and follow label directions.
We're back. You're listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
And Michael, as promised, we are joined at this point in the program by the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of Florida, Jeff Kottkamp. And Jeff, welcome to our program.
Oh, it's great to be with you.
It has been, I think we're coming up here on 8 years since you were the Lieutenant Governor under then Republican Governor Charlie Crist. I wanted to take a minute or two for folks who may not remember or aren't familiar with your bio. Just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Well, I'm an attorney by education, and that was my profession. Then I was elected to the Florida House of Representatives, where I had the privilege to serve for 6 years, chaired the Judiciary Committee and several others, and really enjoyed my opportunity to represent Southwest Florida in the legislature, and then was elected Lieutenant Governor in November 2006 and served as the state's Lieutenant Governor for 4 years, and it's just an amazing experience to serve statewide. You find out what an incredible state Florida is. It's diverse, it's beautiful, the people are amazing. It was a tremendous experience to be Lieutenant Governor, and since then, I've been practicing law. I've been trying to help people navigate the legislative process. I've coached baseball. I've coached basketball, and just had a wonderful time with my wife and my son, frankly, being out of office.
Well, and so you are living proof that you can actually, and some folks actually do spend more time with their families when they leave politics. Well, we've been telling the folks that our topic today is going to be offshore oil drilling in Florida. And I guess my first question to you would be, how did you get involved in this one?
Well, just talking to people about this issue, and if we go back to even when I was in office, and we were in a different place back then where we were not energy independent as a country, and frankly, part of that is why so many of our jobs had gone overseas. And you fast forward to where we are now, and you see, as we've increased our production, how it has improved or played a big role, frankly, in the improvement of our economy. And start thinking about looking forward, and these are the kind of issues that I'm interested in, and so you start looking at, well, what are we going to do next? What's going to be the next phase of the development of energy? And obviously, we will continue to see advancements in technology. We will continue to see improvements in renewable energy, which is something I certainly support. But 65% of the energy that we use in this country comes from oil and natural gas, and in Florida, it's even a little bit more than that. So we have to continually be looking at new sources of energy for not only the country, but obviously for the state of Florida. That's kind of how I got involved.
And so you support more offshore drilling off of Florida then?
Well, I think right now what we're trying to accomplish, it's been 30 years since we've taken a serious look at what potential oil and natural gas reserves may exist offshore. And so the first step is simply to explore those opportunities. What's out there? We have not really taken a look, as I said, a hard look at this. And with the advancements in technology now, we can do offshore energy exploration in a very, very safe way that's not going to harm the environment. So let's find out what's there first. And then let's have the discussion about pulling those resources out of the ground. There's already in the Gulf, there's already oil production taking place, but it's so far away nobody would ever know it. It's out of sight, and that certainly is an important part of this. The advancement in technology obviously is another. I'm as aware as anybody of the importance of the environment, not just for the natural beauty, but for the economy of Florida, with not just 21 million residents, but 110 million visitors a year. That's really important to our economy. So we obviously have to do this in a very responsible way. But if we want to make sure that we have affordable, energy in Florida, that's important to the economy too. That's important to tourism as well. Then we have to look at what opportunities are available to us for energy exploration in the future.
Now, some of the information that we've been supplied here, staggering. 94% of U.S. federal offshore acreage is off limits to oil and natural gas development. And that, I would think, leaves a majority of homeowners with energy resources untapped. 94%?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important. Nobody wants to see, if you're living on the coast, you don't want to see oil rigs, and that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened, and nobody's advocating for that. But, out of the abundance of caution, out of concern over the economy, most of this area is off limits, but you have to realize, since we haven't really taken a hard look at what areas are available for exploration and what are not, the advancements in technology have been enormous. Obviously, on everybody's mind is Deepwater Horizon. I actually flew over that. I saw it firsthand, keenly aware of all of the safety precautions that weren't taken that are supposed to be, the redundancies in safety, just like NASA uses, that were supposed to be in place. And the advancements in technology, because of that event, make future exploration far, far more safe. And 94% of the area off limits, even if we just open up 10% more, assuming we find, areas for exploration and production in that 10%, that would be an enormous amount of energy available to this country.
I feel like my whole life there has been real strong opposition to this, especially in Florida. Do you think there's still real strong opposition, or do you think there is now a good chance that this could happen in the near future?
Well, it's going to take dispelling some. There's obviously people have this vision in their head of going to the beach and seeing an oil rig. Well, that's never going to happen. There are actually oil rigs in the Gulf today, which you don't see because they're so far away, and we would obviously want to keep it that way. We don't want this to interfere in any way with our beautiful beaches, with our quality of life. We don't want it to, even harm the shore, the view of the shore. So we have to, make sure that those people that are opposed to it understand what fear isn't going to happen. And then you have to tie it into the importance of energy production with a strong economy, with jobs. You think about all the jobs that would come to Florida if we were to increase our energy production. We're talking about, just in Florida, the potential over 20 years of creating 56,000 new jobs, contributing maybe $4 to $5 billion annually to the state's economy. This is a big issue that's tied to many other things. And those fears, I get them, but they're primarily based on, frankly, pictures taken in other places from disasters that happen with very, very antiquated technology. And that's not going to happen.
One of the ways to get a feel for this, and I've spent a great deal of time over the years in South Louisiana, in New Orleans, the French Quarter, and that has a different set of regulations. There's been the offshore drilling, and aside from the BP thing, they really haven't had major disasters in a long, long time. And if you roam the quarter and talk to people as you're doing your pub crawl or whatever, you meet people who are involved in this thing, and they take the position that it has greatly aided the economy of South Louisiana. Now, where I'm going with this, and our good friend Bob Graham chaired that investigation after the BP thing, Do you believe, did they come up with the proper answers, and or are the recommendations going too far? What is your reaction to that?
Well, I don't mind stringent regulation to, again, calm the fears that people have. I understand that, and I think if people are aware that we already have offshore drilling and they just didn't even know it, that it's been going on for years, they might, a lot of people that say they're opposed to it would come around. A lot of other people, frankly, realize that this is critically important to our economy, critically important to jobs. And since the BP incident, there have been, my guess, somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 exploration and production industry standards created. Obviously, that event caused an industry that already had very stringent safety standards to increase them even more. So I'm not concerned. Frankly, I wouldn't even be talking to you if I was concerned about the safety of production of additional oil and gas in the Gulf. I'm not concerned about that, and our job is obviously to educate citizens to make sure they aren't concerned either.
And outside of just having cheaper energy prices, what are some of the other economic benefits of allowing more offshore drilling?
Well, it plays a role, frankly, in national security. When you're energy independent, that's a game changer when it comes to your relationship with other countries. If we're not so dependent on Middle Eastern oil, as an example, how does that change what we do from a military standpoint? If we're not walking on eggshells because Russia is producing a big piece of our energy, how does that change our relationship with Russia? It's really important from a national security standpoint. But you get back to when you really get to the core of this. Just think of the family. Memorial Day weekend, there were cars all over the road. But think about how that would change. How many cars would be coming to Florida for a family vacation if...
Jeff, unfortunately, we're going to have to hold your thought there. We'll let you come back and finish that up. But we must take a pause along our network line here and remind folks that this is the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is Florida's former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kottkamp. We are talking about exploring offshore oil and natural gas near the coastline of Florida. If you'll stay put, our conversation continues following these messages.
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-485-6003. 800-485-6003. That's 800-485-6003.
One time he forgot to fuel up the boat. And it wouldn't be the first time he left his tackle box behind. On one trip he even headed out without his lucky hat. And seems he almost always forgets to wear his sunscreen. But he never forgets to wear the one thing that could save his life. Life jackets save lives. Wear it, Florida.
Visit myfwc.com for more information.
Is your yard a glorious utopia? One that deserves protection from the invasion of blackberry? If so, then your passion is our passion. That's why Bayer Advanced has made Brush Killer Plus. It uses a systemic formula that kills blackberry to the root, and it's now available in a new 1.3-gallon ready-to-use pump sprayer, making it even easier to apply. Brush Killer Plus from Bayer Advanced. Your passion is our passion. Visit BayerAdvanced.com. Always read and follow label directions.
Leaving tobacco behind isn't an easy task. In all honesty, it's a very hard thing to do. The good news is, if you want to quit, Tobacco-Free Florida offers free help, support, and the tools you'll need to succeed. Area health education centers offer free classes that are run by professionals who know what you're up against. It's comforting to have a face-to-face conversation with a person who knows exactly what you're going through as you begin your quit journey. If you've tried to quit tobacco before, or if you've been avoiding trying to quit, now is the right time for you to succeed. Area Health Education Centers offer free classes that are designed to help you quit and offer free nicotine replacement therapy like patches, lozenges, and gum. Remember, it's free, so you have nothing to lose. There's a quitter in you, and with the help of Tobacco-Free Florida's 3 ways to quit, you'll double your chances of success. If you or someone you know needs help quitting tobacco, you can call 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW or visit us at tobaccofreeflorida.com.
We tend to focus on the material and the temporal and neglect the eternal and relational. But none of us knows the number of days that God has planned for us. Don't put off until tomorrow the really important things you can do today, like getting right with God and getting right with others. God became a man in the person of Jesus to show us how. Start by getting right with God through Jesus. Then show your family how much you love them. If you're married or a parent, surprise them by occasionally coming home early. Tell them you love them. Plan fun things to do with them. Help someone you care about, someone who needs you at the office or in the neighborhood, or maybe someone who needs a friend. Maybe just be someone to listen and hold a hand. Even seek to be right with those who are not for you. It may not be the last day that you live here on earth, but it may become a great day for you and those you care about. This is Bryant Wright, speaking right from my heart.
Visit rightfromtheheart.org. That's rightfromtheheart.org.
From Pensacola to Key West and all points in between, you're listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is former Florida Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kottkamp. We are talking about Explore Offshore Florida, exploring for oil and natural gas. And it's going to be an issue this November as you head in and take a look at that big bedsheet ballot we're going to have. And, Jeff, you were in the midst of talking about effects on Florida and reflecting on the Memorial Day weekend and the cars and the traffic and the beaches. And I wanted to let you go ahead and finish up that thought.
Okay, great. I mean, when I think of this issue on the micro level, I think of the mom and dad with the 3 kids that lives in Indiana, and they've saved for a year to go to Disney World, and they're going to pack up in their car and drive to Florida. If gas gets to $5 a gallon, that's not going to happen. It just makes it unaffordable for people to drive to Florida. Then that 110 million visitors we have in Florida suddenly is half that, and our economy takes a huge hit. We're talking about keeping that situation, the gas you put in your tank, affordable, and that creates that opportunity for people to take those vacations, come to Florida, and play a huge role in the economy of our state. And then at the macro level, you think about what this kind of offshore development does on the investment side. We believe $2 to $3 million in private investment could come to Florida, and $1 billion a year in state revenues just by this increase in production. So it's big on the family level, all the way to impacting the coffers of the state. Which obviously, when the state's bringing in more revenue from business, that means the income, the taxes for families is lower. So it has an impact on people in many ways.
And before we continue here, I know there is a website for those of you along the network lines. Hey, golly, I want to read more about that, and I want to pass that along. We'll do this a couple of times while we're together. It's Explore Offshore. All is one word, exploreoffshore.org. Exploreoffshore.org, and there's all kinds of information there.
So it seems like one of the biggest reasons some people oppose this is because they frankly just oppose all fossil fuels, saying we need to just get away from oil, get away from natural gas, and go towards renewable energy. What would you say to people that make that argument?
Well, it's naive at best to think it costs. Probably we spend more energy creating these clean energies than we do if we just used fossil fuels. I mean, the technology is getting better for renewable energies, but it's still not quite there. And if you look at, where we're going in the future, we're projecting an increase in, we're about 65%, I think, of oil and natural gas is what we use to create the energy in this country. And that's going to go up to about 68%, I think, according to the federal government, whereas the growth in renewables is somewhere, as I recall, in the neighborhood of 14%. It's just not going to keep pace. We're not in a place where we can rely on renewable energy. So unless you want to sit in the dark, unless you want delivery trucks to be delivering goods across this country, unless you want enormously high electric bills, and I've always said this even for the last 30 years, if you think about when you sit down at your kitchen table every month and you pay your bills and you pay your electric bill, what a bargain. If you think about how electricity plays a role in our life every single day in Florida, and to have affordable electricity drives our households, let alone our economy. So we have to, I'm all for advances in expanding our energy portfolio. We should always continue to do that, but we have to be realistic. Most of our energy comes from oil and natural gas, and it will continue to come from oil and natural gas. So if that's the case, then let's make sure we have plenty of it. Let's make sure we're producing it in a very safe way, and let's make sure we keep those gas prices low so that those families from all over the country can come and visit our beautiful state.
One of the things that I think people don't think about, and you're talking somewhere up close to 60,000 new jobs being created, and I want you to elaborate on that a little bit, because most folks say, well, 60,000, and are there going to be that many men on the oil platforms? And that's not the point at all. This goes across the board and affects all facets of our economy, and I want you to talk about that.
Yeah, so you go at the beginning. If you back it up and say, okay, we're going forward with this process. We're going to increase our energy portfolio, and we're going to have not only draw this out of the ground, but it's got to be delivered, it's got to be produced, it's got to be then delivered all the way to the retail side. The whole chain of production to consumer is enormous. That's why you're talking about as many as 60,000 jobs in Florida. That's why you're talking about an investment of $2 or $3 billion just in private investment. And you're talking about jobs that average over $100,000. You know, there's other parts of this country, Louisiana, Texas, where people, it's an enormous part of their workforce. It's viewed very favorably because there aren't unknown anecdotes about this. They know that this is an industry that takes safety very seriously. And I get back to the education side of this. You know, when the BP oil spill took place, one of the things we did in the governor's office is we sent Governor Christ out to do interviews on the beaches all across Florida. And one morning I was watching him do an interview in Pensacola, and during the interview, the network shifted to footage of a pelican covered in oil. Well, that wasn't in Florida. In fact, we didn't get any oil on the beaches of Florida. And yet the networks kept running this footage as if this was a problem in our state, and it wasn't. I actually wrote the presidents of every network and asked them to please stop misrepresenting, you know, this event in our state because it was impacting our tourism, and it did. So we have to do a really good job of making sure that people understand this is job one. If we're going to do this, it's going to be in an environmentally friendly way, in an environmentally responsible way. we want to make sure that we maintain the beauty of Florida before we pull any additional oil or gas out of the offshore waters.
So we know that the Department of the Interior under Trump took steps, proposing to open up additional acreage of offshore drilling off Florida. What else needs to happen, though? Does the Florida legislature need to pass a law or what?
Well, this is going to happen at the federal level first and foremost. And there's going to be, this determination, okay, are we going to go forward? Are we going to, and again, we're not talking even about the oil production at this point. Right now, we're just talking about safe offshore exploration. So carving out some of that 94% of the acreage that's currently not used, going in there and determining if there is oil or gas that could be safely pulled out of the ground. So that will be, frankly, developed at the federal level. A really important piece of this for Florida, frankly, is the conversation between the Department of Interior and the Department of Defense. We obviously have a very important military training range in the Gulf for Eglin Air Force Base, and we think it's really important that we maintain the integrity of that range. We make sure that whatever takes place in the exploration side doesn't interfere with our military operations in the state. So there will be a conversation not only on the oil side and the Department of Interior, but on the defense side with the Department of Defense as well.
And, I'm just browsing through. I find some very interesting things, and people say, "Whoa, this really doesn't affect Florida." Florida is the second largest producer of electricity in the United States. Natural gas fuels 2/3 of our electricity generation, and yet we still have to import electricity from other states. And I find that to be amazing. And I'll tell you what we're going to do, Jeff, here. The clock is just about to catch us again, so I'm going to ask you to give that some thought. We'll take our little break along our network line, and you can come back and respond to that. Again, a nice website where you'll find all kinds of information about this thing, exploreoffshore.org. All one word, exploreoffshore.org. Let us remind you that you are listening to the Florida Roundtable, a service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is Florida's former Lieutenant Governor, Jeff Kottkamp. And our topic is the exploration offshore, oil and natural gas, and the conversation continues in a moment.
Years after her husband first arrived in Belle Glade, Florida from Haiti, Stephanie finally had her family together again. But her husband and daughter became disabled. So now, Stephanie supports them, working brutal 15-hour days in the farm fields. At the Glades Initiative, we connect Stephanie and others with food and social services. Help us help them have decent lives together. Visit gladesinitiative.org.
If you have a qualifying medical condition and a qualified physician determines that medical marijuana is right for you, the physician will add you to the Medical Marijuana Use Registry so that you can obtain your medical marijuana ID card. Verifying that your physician is qualified protects you, as does making sure that your medical marijuana treatment center is approved. The Florida Department of Health makes this verification easy with our qualified ordering physician search tool and other resources available at floridahealth.gov/OMMU.
Your yard's days of being picked on are over, thanks to the science of Bayer Advanced Brush Killer Plus. Its penetrating formula is specifically designed to kill hard-to-control brush, like kudzu, poison ivy, poison oak, and wild berries, roots and all. And the concentrate product even kills stumps, so your yard never has to worry about being bullied. Bayer Advanced. Get more from the blue bottle. BayerAdvanced.com. Always read and follow label directions.
One time he forgot to fuel up the boat. And it wouldn't be the first time he left his tackle box behind. On one trip he even headed out without his lucky hat. And seems he almost always forgets to wear his sunscreen. But he never forgets to wear the one thing that could save his life. Life jackets save lives. Wear it, Florida.
Visit myfwc.com for more information.
We are back. You're listening to the Florida Roundtable, the service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
Our very special guest this day is Florida's former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kottkamp. Our topic today, exploring offshore Florida for oil and natural gas. And Jeff, I was saying just as we went into that last break that Florida is the second largest producer of electricity in the nation. And yet we are importing electricity, having it shipped in from other states. Now, if we get closer here and some of these things begin to happen, can Florida get away from that?
We can get away from that, and again, it's all tied together. So that means everything, because that involves transportation costs. If you're not producing in your state, it involves transportation costs. That means at the gas pump, it's going to be higher. So look, there's a couple of things that really impact people on a daily basis that we're talking about here when we talk about further exploration offshore. And that means your electricity bill stays affordable. It means that the price at the pump stays affordable. It means that thousands of jobs come to our state that are high-paying jobs in the $100,000 plus range. It means millions in tax revenues to help build schools and hire teachers. And when we're having this discussion right now about hardening our schools and making them safer, and some communities are trying to figure out where's the money going to come from to hire resource officers and to make our schools safe. Well, this is an enormous opportunity to fund our schools and bring more money into the state coffers. So we're talking about, millions of dollars in economic development in Florida, and it really does. This is something that will impact people very personally every single day. The more that we produce here at home, the more that we produce here in Florida, the more financial benefit comes to all of the citizens of our great state.
You had mentioned earlier that the first step is mere exploration, just going and seeing if the oil is even there. Are there any signs that it is there? Have they done any testing beforehand to even... Is there any clue that there probably is a lot of oil offshore?
I honestly don't know that, and maybe I should, but I think that with most of this acreage off limits, there's probably some expectation that from the 6% that is available and what we've produced from that 6%, there's an expectation. I believe there have been some signs of significant possibilities for exploration offshore, but I don't know the extent of that, and I think that's one of the key things. You've got to go out and actually confirm that there is oil and gas available in these areas, and then you have the conversation about, okay, are we going to pull it out? Are we going to do that? How are we going to do that to make sure it's safe? How are we going to do that to make sure it doesn't impact the environment? Those conversations are really the second step.
I note that since about 2010, more than 100 exploration and production industry standards have been created or strengthened, and that coexists. You were talking about tourism and fishing and the military, and in 8 years, that's a pretty good track record for not having a problem, I think.
Well, I get it. Look, like I said, I flew over the BP oil spill myself and saw it firsthand. I get it. But like with any tragedy, just as when we have lost a space shuttle, we have ramped it up on safety in the NASA program. This industry did the same thing. They founded the Center for Offshore Safety really to promote the highest level of safety for offshore drilling in history, to make sure, just as you're saying, that we implement these safety standards to protect the environment. Everybody understands that is the first and critical component of this. To whatever we do, we must protect the beauty, not just of Florida, but of the entire coastline of our country. So because frankly, look, this industry knows if it had accidents all the time, we would just not have any offshore drilling, and we would become energy dependent on other countries, and that would increase the price of electricity daily, increase the price at the gas pump, and a whole bunch of other things. So this is all tied together, and nobody understands it better than the industry itself.
Now, for those people along our network line here who are saying, well, that all sounds very interesting, and I want to know more about it. I'd like to do some reading, some of my own research on this situation. Where would you point them to go and learn more about it on their own?
Well, I know that there's this coalition. We've developed a coalition, and frankly, that's one of the things that interested me in this, because it's a coalition of community organizations, of businesses, of consumer groups from Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and of course, Florida, all who support offshore energy exploration and production, because they know how this impacts people in their day-to-day lives and how it will impact the economy of our entire region. So I know they've created a website, and frankly, honestly, I think there are a myriad of opportunities for you to educate yourself on this. Don't just go to one source, but I would take the time as a citizen, if this is an issue that came to my ballot, I would want to educate myself on it. If it really is something that's going to impact me in a personal way, I'd find out as much about it as I could.
And on a personal note, of course, we do want to say thank you very much, because we know you're a busy man, and we appreciate you taking all the time to come and visit with us today. But I wanted to ask what is on the agenda of Jeff Kottkamp. You were so active in state politics for a long time. Might somewhere down the road, might there be another candidacy, or what do you see for yourself?
Well, right now I'm trying to help my clients. I'm challenging, for one client, challenging a constitutionality of one of the Constitutional Revision Commission proposals. I'm this week taking my son to a basketball camp at the University of Kentucky, and I'm going to continue to be a husband and a dad and a lawyer, and continue to do the things that I'm doing every single day, being involved in a whole host of things, and we'll just see. You never know in this world what lies ahead, but right now I'm very content with what I'm doing with my time.
Well, we would never say never. Well, Jeff Kottkamp, the former lieutenant governor of the state of Florida, you are well informed on this offshore exploration issue, and again, we do say thank you for your time this day, and we would like to invite you to come back and visit with us on this again in a few months.
Oh, love to do it. It's been my pleasure to be with you.
This is the Florida Roundtable. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
A brief closing thought following these messages.
Wow, your flowers are gorgeous. What's your secret?
It's no secret. It's Bear Advanced.
You mean these blue bottles?
Uh-huh. I protect my beauties with all-in-one rose and flower care. It's insect and disease control plus fertilizer.
Really? What's this 12-month tree and shrub protect and feed?
Oh, I use it on my trees. It kills bugs for up to a year, plus it feeds. It's that easy. Hey, where are you going?
To get my own. I want a great yard, too.
Bear Advanced. Get more from the blue bottle. Always read and follow label instructions.
If only Jason would have stopped before turning. But he didn't. Actually, he didn't even slow down or look. If he had, he would have seen the woman in the crosswalk. 1 in every 4 traffic fatalities involves a pedestrian, so please stop before turning right on red and always yield for pedestrians. Safety doesn't happen by accident. Alert today, alive tomorrow. A message from the Florida Department of Transportation.
Hey guys, want to be a good dad? The Bible says, fathers, don't exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Don't frustrate your children. That means don't make unrealistic demands. Don't crush their spirit with being overly strict or with passive aloofness. Every child needs discipline that is fair and consistent. They need to know what the boundaries are and know there are negative consequences if they ignore them. This gives a child security and helps them to know they are loved. An instruction of the Lord. Discipline without instruction exasperates a child. Discipline with instruction teaches them right and wrong with love. It's not easy being a good dad, but we sure have a great model in our Heavenly Father revealed to us through Jesus. This is Bryant Wright, speaking right from my heart.
Being a good dad can make a huge difference in the lives of your children. Visit rightfromtheheart.org and do a topical search on dads. You'll find more information that will help you as you try to be a good dad, God's way.
In a world of tiny tomatoes and backyard pests, one man and his better half dig deep to save backyard gardens.
Joni, stand by to upload expert videos.
Already loaded, Tom.
Wow, you're good.
You're not so bad yourself.
Tom and Joni McCubbin star in hisandhersgardening.com. Critics rave.
Tom and Joni, they really grow on you. 2 green thumbs up.
Don't miss hisandhersgardening.com.
Employ Florida offers resources and services to help you find employment.
Hi, Gary here. Employ Florida helped me improve my interview skills, plus write a great resume. I attended networking events with many employers and other industry professionals just like me. With the workshops and training found at employflorida.com, I was able to land a great job in my field.
Job resources, real results, hired. Employflorida.com. That's employflorida.com.
We are back. You're listening to the Florida Roundtable, the service of Florida's Talk and Entertainment Networks. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
And, Michael, your gut reaction to what the former lieutenant governor had to say?
Well, I mean, I agree with him on this issue. I have for a long time. And it's interesting he brought up the point of, really, this is just exploring.
Yeah.
We're not even drilling yet. We're not even at the point where we even know for certain there's oil or natural gas out there. Yeah. We just want to see if it's out there. And we can't even get to that point because it's been blocked by federal and local government.
A lot of people suspect that there are vast amounts of raw energy underneath out there. And as you say, we haven't even begun to look yet. I was impressed in the fact that since 2010, they have had over 100 explorations, and there has not been any kind of issues. No. Standards have been created. They're stronger than they used to be. And I said earlier, I look at Louisiana and I see all the economic value that they're getting, and they've not had problems over there outside of the BP
and
thing.
We need it. The country needs it.
I absolutely do, unless you want to buy a skateboard or get some roller skates. You know?
Right.
So, Michael, you have a couple of other venues. Tell the folks.
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R, or find my podcast, Beyond Reason Radio, wherever podcasts are available.
All right. Next week, we're going to examine in some detail the job situation here in Florida and across the country with an interesting man. I'm Reagan Smith.
And I'm Michael Yaffee.
We'll see you next week on the Florida Roundtable.
You've been listening to the Florida Roundtable, a news and public affairs presentation of the Florida News Network. The views and opinions expressed during this show are solely those of the participants and not necessarily those of this station's management, ownership, or sponsors. Please email your comments to reagansmith@fnnonline.net.